The galaxy is dreaming, and tonight you drift with it, carried gently among the stars, where each light above is not only a sun, but a world, and each world is a story, a memory, a lullaby waiting to be heard. Imagine the map of the Star Wars universe stretching out before you, endless and infinite, its spiral arms glowing softly in the quiet of space, and upon each planet the hum of life stirs, some in bustling city towers, others in silent deserts, others still in forests so tall the stars themselves seem caught in their branches. The galaxy is not only battles and heroes, not only Jedi and Sith. The galaxy is dreaming, and tonight you drift with it, carried gently among the stars, where each light above is not only a sun, but a world, and each world is a story, a memory, a lullaby waiting to be heard. Imagine the map of the Star Wars universe stretching out before you, endless and infinite, its spiral arms glowing softly in the quiet of space, and upon each planet the hum of life stirs, some in bustling city towers, others in silent deserts, others still in forests so tall the stars themselves seem caught in their branches. The galaxy is not only battles and heroes, not only Jedi and Sith, but the living places that held them, the landscapes that shaped them, and the skies under which they dreamed. And as you travel now, one world at a time, you will hear how deserts remember suns, how oceans keep secrets, how forests hold laughter, and how ruins whisper of what once was. On Tatooine, the twin suns rest heavy over dunes that glow like amber in twilight, while on Coruscant, millions of windows twinkle as if stars themselves have descended into the heart of the city, and on Naboo, lakes reflect silver moons, lanterns drifting like fireflies across still waters. The galaxy is dreaming, and you dream with it, floating past volcanic rivers on Mustafar, but the living places that held them, the landscapes that shaped them, and the skies under which they dreamed. And as you travel now, one world at a time, you will hear how deserts remember suns, how oceans keep secrets, how forests hold laughter, and how ruins whisper of what once was. On Tatooine, the twin suns rest heavy over dunes that glow like amber in twilight, while on Coruscant, millions of windows twinkle as if stars themselves have descended into the heart of the city, and on Naboo, lakes reflect silver moons, lanterns drifting like fireflies across still waters. The galaxy is dreaming, and you dream with it, floating past volcanic rivers on Mustafar, their fire soft and distant, like embers crackling at the edge of sleep, past Dagobah's swamps where fog curls around ancient roots, frogs croak gently, and fireflies shimmer in the mist, past snowy Hoth, where silence falls as softly as the flakes themselves, endless white stretching into forever, quiet as the pause between heartbeats. On Endor, forests breathe, leaves rustling in lullabies above Ewok villages lit by soft torches, while on Kashyyyk the great trees rise like cathedrals, their branches weaving a canopy where wind hums like a song older than memory. Alderaan lives still in memory, a dream of peace and valleys, of mountains that once shone with light, carried now only in the hearts of those who remember, while Bespin floats in golden clouds, Cloud City suspended, as if the sky itself had decided to cradle it in its arms, glowing like a lantern in endless dusk. And far away, Ahch-To's waves lap against stone, timeless and patient, while Exegol's storms rumble faintly, a distant thunder like a lullaby of darkness fading into silence. Jakku lies in solitude, the husks of fallen ships glowing pale under desert moons, while Mandalore's broken domes still shine faintly with starlight, waiting, remembering, enduring. And in the heart of the jungle, Yavin 4's ancient temples stand covered in vines, whispers of civilizations long gone. Still alive in every stone, and above all of it, the stars themselves, watching, remembering, guiding, their glow a promise that the galaxy does not end, that its story flows forever. The galaxy is dreaming, and tonight, you dream with it. Moving from world to world, from sand to stone to sky to sea, hearing the quiet voices of planets themselves, each one a cradle of memory, each one a part of the Force, eternal and alive. Tatooine. The desert world of twin suns lies in the outer rim like a grain of sand in an endless ocean, harsh and unforgiving, yet iconic in its quiet beauty. A place where silence stretches across horizons, and the golden glow of two suns paints dunes that ripple like waves frozen in time. And though many see it only as barren, Tatooine is alive with stories, with whispers of survival and resilience. Here the wind hums across canyons carved by centuries of heat, carrying with it the scent of dust and dryness, while moisture farmers rise at dawn to tend their vaporators, coaxing precious drops of water from the air, their lives humble, their evenings lit by lanterns that glow against adobe walls, a fragile warmth against the immensity of desert night. The Jawas wander in their sand crawlers, mechanical giants lumbering across the sands, scavenging what others discard, their glowing eyes peeking out from hoods as they trade trinkets and droids with hurried chatter, while the Tusken Raiders move like shadows, wrapped in cloth and silence, their banthas lumbering faithfully across dunes, their Gadarfii sticks, symbols of a culture ancient and fierce, one that endures despite centuries of struggle. Mos Eisley bustles at the edge of this desolation, a spaceport built on shifting sands where cantinas glow in neon light, and the air carries laughter, arguments, and the music of alien instruments, where smugglers strike deals in shadowed corners, pilots boast of past runs, and destiny itself once stirred when a farm boy, a smuggler, and a Jedi old and weary crossed paths within its walls. The suns beat mercilessly by day, yet at night the desert cools, stars pouring across the heavens in cascades of silver, their brilliance unfiltered by city towers or clouds, and under that infinite canopy lies a serenity few worlds can match, the desert whispering as if the Force itself hums in the quiet. Tatooine is more than sand. It is the crucible where legends are forged. Anakin Skywalker, once a slave in Mos Espa, dreamed of freedom as pod racers roared through canyons, his destiny rooted in dust. Luke Skywalker, raised on a moisture farm beneath suns that always set too soon, gazed at horizons longing for a greater future. And beneath those same skies took his first steps into a galaxy of destiny. The planet remembers them, its sands still holding the echoes of pod races, the memory of sabers igniting, the laughter of Jawas, the cries of banthas, the hum of land speeders skimming low over cracked plains. Tatooine is timeless because it embodies the contrast of life itself, harsh but beautiful, barren yet filled with hidden resilience, forgotten by the galaxy yet central to its greatest stories. To imagine Tatooine at night is to see dunes glowing faintly beneath moonlight, wind brushing against stone, the horizon endless and still, and in that stillness you can almost hear the dreams of those who once lived there, the boy who would bring balance and the boy who would bring hope, both gazing at the same twin suns, both hearing the same silence, both shaping the galaxy from this lonely, humble world of sand. And so Tatooine, though small and harsh, endures in memory as more than desert, more than exile, more than dust. It is the dream beneath twin suns, a reminder that even in the most unlikely places, destiny awakens and the galaxy shifts. Tatooine's story stretches far deeper than its dunes, for beneath its sun-scorched silence lies a culture shaped by survival, each people, Jawas, Tuskens, settlers, learning to endure the heat, the dryness, the loneliness, and in their endurance lies a beauty often overlooked by those who only see a wasteland. Jawas, for all their scavenging reputation, are keepers of memory, riding sand crawlers that were once mining vehicles abandoned long ago, now turned into homes that rumble slowly across horizons, their chatter carrying through desert winds as they barter droids, scrap, and stories. The Tusken Raiders, fierce and feared, are not only warriors but nomads bound to the land, their rituals tied to the shifting dunes, their Ghadarfiai not only weapons but symbols of honor, their banthas treated as kin rather than beasts. And though clashes with settlers define much of what outsiders remember, their culture is older than the Republic itself, rooted in the desert's rhythm. Settlers, moisture farmers like Owen and Beru Lars, rise before dawn, coaxing vaporators to yield enough water to live, their existence humble yet steady. The heart of communities scattered across dust. Cantinas like those in Mos Eisley or Mos Espa become gathering places where laughter, music, and quarrels blend into a chorus that carries through the night, their doors always open to smugglers, pilots, wanderers, and dreamers who pass through. Tatooine is a crossroads, where crime syndicates trade in shadows, where pod races roar like thunder through rocky canyons, engines screaming as crowds cheer, the Bunta Eve race once making legends of slaves who dreamed of more. In every canyon, in every dune, in every ruin, the Force hums, quiet, unassuming, yet alive. For Tatooine has been the cradle of destiny more than once. Anakin Skywalker was discovered here, his genius shining in pod racing and mechanics, his childhood dreams stretching farther than the horizon he gazed upon, and his choices would forever alter the galaxy. Luke Skywalker, too, grew beneath these suns, staring at the same horizon, longing for something beyond moisture farming, his heart restless, his destiny tied to stars he did not yet know. Tatooine remembers them both, its sand whispering of their footsteps, its canyons echoing with their voices, its sunsets carrying the weight of their dreams. And yet beyond legends, Tatooine itself endures, its nights cool and serene, filled with stars so bright they seem to hum, its winds brushing softly against stone, its silence a cradle that rocks those who listen into sleep. To close your eyes and imagine Tatooine is to feel the twin suns warming your face, to hear the distant hum of a land speeder, to see stars emerge one by one over endless dunes, and to know that even in the harshest places, beauty and destiny wait quietly, timeless as the desert, eternal as the Force. Coruscant. The beating heart of the galaxy is unlike any other world. For where most planets hold oceans, forests, or deserts, Coruscant is itself a city, a single ecumenopolis that stretches from horizon to horizon, its surface a maze of towers, spires, and skylanes glowing with endless light, so vast that even from orbit, the planet gleams like a jewel studded with fire, a star within a star. Its story is the story of civilization itself, for countless generations have built layer upon layer, city upon city, until the original surface is buried beneath kilometers of durasteel and stone, forgotten in the shadow of towers that pierce the skies. By day, the planet hums with the constant flow of speeders weaving through shimmering skylanes, millions of ships carrying citizens to and from lives as varied as the stars themselves, and by night, neon and glow panels bathe the towers in color, turning the city into a sea of constellations reflected downward, as if the heavens themselves descended to rest upon this single world. At its core rises the Jedi Temple, its spires reaching like calm fingers toward the sky, its halls once echoing with the quiet footsteps of younglings, the wisdom of masters, the hum of sabers in training. And though the temple has known triumph and tragedy, its silhouette remains a symbol of serenity, its lights once a beacon of guidance for all who gazed upon it. Beside it lies the Senate, a colossal dome where thousands of voices once gathered, debating the fate of the galaxy beneath the watchful gaze of the Supreme Chancellor, a place where ideals were spoken, where laws were forged, where democracy both thrived and faltered. And its chambers, whether filled with applause or with silence, carried the echoes of choices that shaped centuries. Yet Coruscant has not only towers and temples of power, it is also the underworld, the endless layers below where sunlight never reaches, where neon flickers against shadows, where cantinas and markets thrive in chaos, and where smugglers, bounty hunters, and the forgotten carve out lives as real and meaningful as those in the shining towers above. From the highest spires of the Chancellor's Suite to the lowest alleys of the Undercity, Coruscant is alive with billions of voices, languages, and dreams, each window glowing with its own story, each speeder carrying a soul with hopes and fears, all woven together into the great hum of the galactic capital. Coruscant has seen golden ages and dark nights. It was the heart of the Republic at its height, a beacon of order and unity. Yet it was also the throne of the Empire, Palpatine's seat of tyranny, where the Senate fell silent and fear reigned. It has been both cradle of hope and fortress of oppression, yet through it all, it endures, always adapting, always alive. To imagine Coruscant in a bedtime dream is to drift above its skyline at dusk, watching the sun sink behind towers as traffic lanes glow like flowing rivers of light, to hear the soft hum of ships in endless motion, to feel the planet's pulse beneath your feet, steady and eternal like the heartbeat of the galaxy itself. And in its quietest moments, perhaps in the hush of a Jedi meditation chamber, or in a balcony garden overlooking the skyline, you may feel what Coruscant truly is, not only a city of stone and steel, but a gathering of lives, a constellation of people, each one a star in the galaxy's endless night, each one part of the same dream. To wander deeper into Coruscant's endless expanse is to realize that it is not a single city, but a million stacked upon each other, each level its own world, each avenue its own dream, and each light in every window a story of someone awake, someone working, someone living beneath the watch of stars barely visible above. The higher levels glitter with polished durasteel and shining spires, penthouses bathed in soft glow where senators and merchants dine beneath crystal chandeliers while the city hums below, and in the middle levels, endless apartment blocks hum with voices of families, children laughing in sky gardens, vendors calling in marketplaces strung between towers, while in the deepest layers where daylight never reaches, neon flickers against dripping stone and forgotten machinery, and lives are carved from shadows in cantinas filled with smoke and song. The beauty of Coruscant lies not only in its grandeur, but in its contrasts. The Jedi Temple spires rising serene against the horizon, while far beneath, the underworld thrives with danger and color, crime lords bargaining as easily as senators do above, their worlds separated by kilometers of durasteel, yet bound together in the same planetary heartbeat. It is said that the entire galaxy flows through Coruscant at some point, and standing on its platforms, watching ships rise and fall, you can almost believe it. For every voice, every culture, every species drifts across its skylanes. In the Senate rotunda, voices once thundered in unison and in discord, the chamber echoing with hope, betrayal, unity, and corruption, until the moment it fell silent under Palpatine's reign, its debates reduced to obedience, its applause hollow and heavy. Proof that even the brightest towers can cast the longest shadows. Yet Coruscant endures, for even in oppression, life continued. Bakers opened stalls, musicians filled plazas, lovers met on balconies, and children laughed in hidden gardens. For the pulse of the planet is not in palaces or temples, but in its people. Billions upon billions of lives woven together into one dream. To close your eyes and imagine Coruscant is to drift upward in a speeder through the skylanes at twilight. The sky painted in soft hues as towers glimmer below, the hum of traffic steady and soothing, lights stretching endlessly like rivers of stars. And at the summit, perhaps on a balcony of the Jedi Temple, you gaze out across the city and see not chaos but harmony, not noise but music, the whole world alive, glowing, breathing as one. And when night falls and the stars appear faint above the glow, Coruscant itself becomes a constellation, its towers like shining pillars in the sky. And in that moment you realize that the planet is itself a galaxy in miniature, infinite in stories, eternal in memory, and forever dreaming. Naboo, the jewel of the mid-rim, is a planet of quiet beauty, where green meadows roll into shimmering lakes, where waterfalls tumble from cliffs like silver ribbons, and where the evening skies blush purple and gold as the sun sets over domed cities that shine like pearls against the land, unlike the endless steel of Coruscant or the burning rivers of Mustafar. Naboo feels like a dream made tangible, a place where nature and civilization breathe together in harmony, its people building palaces that rise gracefully from hillsides, their stone carved to blend with the earth, their domes glowing in the dusk like lanterns of memory. And beneath the waters lie the hidden cities of the Gungans, their bubble-like structures glimmering with light, a world within a world, suspended in lakes that stretch into mystery. Theed, the capital, is perhaps the most beautiful city in the galaxy. Its streets lined with colonnades and gardens, fountains singing in plazas, its palace rising in elegance above the river, where Padme Amidala once stood to speak for her people, her voice carrying the courage of a world that valued peace and art above war. Naboo is a world defined not by conquest, but by preservation, its people cherishing both nature and culture, its lakes clear as crystal, its fields filled with flowers swaying gently in the breeze, and even its conflicts, such as the invasion by the Trade Federation, are remembered less for the scars they left and more for the resilience of the Naboo and the unlikely alliance forged with the Gungans, two peoples bound together by shared survival, their unity a symbol of harmony stronger than division. To walk Naboo's fields at twilight is to hear the chorus of insects humming softly, to see moons mirrored in still water, to feel a peace that settles deep into the soul. To drift through its lakes is to see shafts of light pierce the surface, illuminating the alien beauty of coral-like structures and the shimmering scales of strange fish, while deep below the glow of Gungan domes flickers like stars beneath the surface. Naboo holds memory within its soil. It remembers a boy named Anakin, who left its fields for the stars, a queen who fought for peace, a senator who stood against tyranny, and all their choices echo still in the quiet of its valleys. To imagine Naboo in a bedtime dream is to picture lanterns drifting on the surface of a lake, their golden light mirrored in the ripples, to hear the whisper of waterfalls like lullabies tumbling into night, and to feel the calm of a world that has always chosen beauty, harmony, and resilience, a reminder that even in a galaxy of conflict, there are places where peace blooms like flowers in spring. Naboo is not only a planet of landscapes, but of spirit, and in the memory of its meadows and waters, the galaxy finds rest, a gentle promise that balance, once found, can endure. To look more closely at Naboo is to see a planet not only of breathtaking landscapes, but of resilience woven into every part of its story. For while its meadows and waterfalls speak of serenity, the history of Naboo tells of people who refused to surrender their world to oppression. When the Trade Federation blockaded its skies, filling orbit with battleships and droid armies, the Naboo endured the fear and hunger of siege, and when their cities fell, they did not break, but sought alliance with the Gungans, a people long misunderstood. Their lives shaped in domed cities hidden beneath the waters of Lake Pyonga, glowing with strange ethereal beauty, as if entire constellations were born beneath the waves. The union of these two peoples, once divided by distance and prejudice, became one of the great lessons of Naboo, that survival and harmony are born from unity, not conquest. And together they struck back, their victory remembered not only for the liberation it brought, but for the bond it forged between land and water, between palace and swamp. Naboo carried this spirit into the years that followed, with leaders such as Padme Amidala, and later Bail Organa standing among the galaxy's brightest beacons of democracy. Their voices clear, their ideals unwavering, even when war consumed the stars. During the Clone Wars, Naboo stood as a reminder of what the galaxy fought to protect. Its green valleys hosting peace summits, its halls echoing with diplomacy rather than blasters. Yet even here, battles came, as droid armies clashed with Gungan defenders in swamps and fields, their shields glowing against the advance of machines. But the essence of Naboo lies not in wars, but in its living beauty. Children swim in crystal lakes under the gaze of domed palaces. Elders stroll through gardens where fountains trickle like music. Artists paint meadows that stretch forever. And musicians fill plazas with song at twilight, their notes blending with the sound of waterfalls cascading into mist. To stand on the balcony of The's palace as the sun sinks is to see rooftops glow gold, to hear bells ringing softly in the distance, and to feel the gentle breeze that carries the scent of blossoms and river spray. To sit by Lake Country, where Anakin and Padme once walked, is to watch fireflies dance over the water, their glow mirrored in the waves, while the stars above shimmer as if answering in harmony. Naboo is a planet that teaches the galaxy that beauty, art, and peace are not luxuries, but necessities, that to nurture culture is as vital as to build armies, and that even in tragedy, such as the loss of its queen-turned-senator to violence, the spirit of the people endures, rooted as deeply as the rivers that cut through its hills. To dream of Naboo at night is to drift between meadows bathed in moonlight, lakes reflecting stars as though the heavens themselves had descended into the water, and beneath those same waves, the glow of Gungan domes flickers like lanterns. Whole cities asleep in silence, the planet breathing in a harmony, a lullaby of water, earth, and sky. Naboo is remembered not only as the home of Padme Amidala and the childhood refuge of young Anakin Skywalker, but as a world that represents the galaxy's heart at its gentlest. Proof that even in a universe of war, there exist places of calm, timeless beauty, where peace itself feels alive. Mustafar is a world of fire and shadow, a planet that seems at first glance to be nothing more than a nightmare of molten rivers and erupting mountains. Yet within its burning heart lies a strange, solemn beauty, a rhythm of flame and stone that feels like the galaxy's pulse made visible. Its skies glow crimson with a volcanic haze. Its horizons are carved by rivers of lava flowing endlessly like molten seas, and its air hums with the crackle of heat. But if you listen beyond the roar, you hear the quiet sigh of a world that has endured for millennia, reshaped constantly yet always alive. To drift across Mustafar is to see blackened plains stretching between fiery currents, jagged cliffs rising like the teeth of giants, and mountains glowing with inner light, their peaks crowned in smoke that drifts slowly against a blood-red sky. It is a planet remembered for tragedy, for here Anakin Skywalker, consumed by anger, fought Obi-Wan Kenobi amid rivers of fire, their sabers flashing like twin stars against the darkness, the duel ending in silence. The man who was once a hero left broken in the ash, his future sealed in shadow. Yet Mustafar is not only a stage for pain, it is a living world. Its molten flows glowing like lanterns in the night, casting reflections on obsidian rocks, its constant transformation reminding those who gaze upon it that nothing is truly still, that even in destruction there is renewal. When night falls on Mustafar, the lava glows brighter, painting the world in shifting rivers of orange and gold, the stars above faint against the haze but still watching, distant and steady, as if to say that even here, hope flickers. Long after Anakin's fall, Darth Vader built his fortress upon Mustafar's slopes, a dark citadel rising from black rock, its spires catching the glow of the rivers, its halls echoing with silence, a place of meditation, of anger, of sorrow, where he sought control over both the galaxy and himself. Yet even here, in this fortress of shadows, the planet whispered its own lullaby, the steady hum of fire and the sigh of shifting stone, the quiet inevitability of change. Mustafar's story stretches further still, for ancient cults once sought its power, mining its dark crystals, building shrines near its rivers, believing that the fires held echoes of the Force, and perhaps they were right. For Mustafar carries memory, its landscapes forever tied to destiny, its rivers glowing with both sorrow and renewal. To imagine Mustafar in a bedtime dream is to close your eyes and see lava flows moving slowly like glowing streams beneath a darkened sky. To hear the distant rumble of mountains shifting, to feel the warmth and as threat but as comfort, a reminder that even in the harshest worlds, there is a rhythm, a song, a steady breath of life. Mustafar is remembered for duels, for fortresses, for darkness. Yet beneath all of that, it is also a reminder of the galaxy's eternal balance, that even in fire there is beauty, even in destruction there is creation, and even in the darkest nights, the stars still shine faintly through the haze. Mustafar, when explored beyond its surface of fire and ash, reveals itself not only as a landscape of destruction, but as a place where history, myth, and destiny intertwine in ways that feel eternal. For though its rivers of lava seem to erase everything in their path, they also preserve, embedding memories in stone and fire, turning the planet into a living monument of the galaxy's greatest tragedies and transformations. It is here that Darth Vader, scarred and remade, chose to build his fortress, a structure of black stone rising like a blade from the molten ground, its sharp spires catching the glow of the lava beneath, its halls echoing with silence so heavy it felt like the planet itself breathed with sorrow. The fortress was more than a dwelling. It was both prison and sanctuary, a place where Vader sought to channel his pain into strength, to commune with the dark side through the very fires that had consumed him, and within its walls he meditated, reaching across the galaxy with the Force, while deep beneath, ancient Sith relics whispered a forgotten power. Mustafar itself seemed to conspire in this transformation, its natural violence feeding into the energy of the dark side, making it a place feared and shunned by most, but desired by those who sought power at any cost. Yet even in its fury, Mustafar carried reminders of balance. Small forests of obsidian trees clung to life near its poles, fragile ecosystems that hinted at what the planet once had been before a great cataclysm shattered it, turning its fertile surface into endless fire. Some scholars whispered that the Force itself had wounded Mustafar, transforming it into a world of flames so that it might serve as a crucible for destiny, a place where light and dark would meet in inevitable conflict, as they did with Obi-Wan and Anakin, as they did again with those who later sought Vader's legacy. In bedtime dreams, to imagine Mustafar is to see its fortress, silhouetted against rivers of fire, its windows glowing like faint stars, to hear the slow, steady hum of magma moving as if it were a heartbeat, to feel the warmth of embers rising into the night sky where faint constellations still glimmer, distant but present. It is a world that reminds us that pain and beauty, destruction and renewal, darkness and light, all flow together. And though Mustafar is remembered as the place where heroes fell and tyrants rose, it also endures as a symbol of the galaxy's eternal cycle. Harsh, haunting, but strangely peaceful in its constancy. A reminder that even in the hottest fire, there is still rhythm, still life, still the quiet promise that nothing ends, it only transforms. Mustafar's legacy is older than any duel, older even than Vader's fortress. For once, long ago, this world was fertile and alive, its forests deep and its waters flowing, a paradise touched by the Force, until a great cataclysm. Some say a natural shift, others whisper the act of ancient Sith rituals, scarred it, breaking its crust and spilling fire across its surface, transforming it into the volcanic world it is now, a wound that never healed. Yet even in its scarred form, the planet became a focal point for those who sought the dark side, its energies feeding ambitions, its flames mirroring fury, and its obsidian cliffs whispering of forgotten power. When Vader raised his fortress upon its slopes, he did so not only to remember his own breaking, but to harness what the Sith had once sought here, constructing his citadel upon a locus of dark energy, its design shaped by ancient Sith blueprints, a tower meant to channel the Force itself, to amplify his connection to both pain and power. And within its walls he meditated, his presence a storm that merged with the planet's fury, the man and the world bound in mutual torment. Yet Mustafar is not only fire, it is also memory, for each river of lava carries echoes of the duel between master and apprentice, of sabers clashing above rivers of flame, of the choice that remade a galaxy, and each ember that rises into the sky seems to whisper of destinies that burn too bright, too fast. Over centuries, fragments of life still cling here. Pockets of forest near the poles where obsidian trees stretch upward, their black branches swaying in ash-filled winds, creatures small and strange adapting to heat, insects shimmering with bioluminescence against the glow of fire, tiny reminders that even in devastation, life finds a way. Mustafar remains symbolic in the galaxy's collective dreamscape. To Jedi, it is a place of mourning, the site where one of their greatest fell. To the Sith, it is a shrine, a place where power and pain fuse. And to the galaxy's storytellers, it is a world that feels more myth than reality. Its skies forever painted red, its horizons glowing as though the planet itself carries a lantern in the night. To imagine Mustafar in sleep is to see not terror but rhythm, lava flowing like molten rivers beneath a crimson sky, the fortress standing like a shadowed sentinel against the glow, the world itself breathing in fire and exhaling in smoke, its heartbeat steady and endless. And in that vision, Mustafar ceases to be only a wound or a nightmare. It becomes part of the galaxy's eternal cycle, proof that even in fire, beauty can be found, that even in destruction, stories live, and that the Force, like the lava that flows endlessly, binds all things, light and dark, loss and renewal, in a lullaby of change. Dagobah is a world wrapped in mist and memory, a planet where the air itself seems to hum with the breath of the Force, its swamps stretching endlessly beneath tangled trees, its pools reflecting a sky hidden by clouds, its silence broken only by the chorus of insects and the croak of unseen creatures. To step onto Dagobah is to enter a dream, a place untamed, untouched by cities or machines, where every root, every vine, every ripple of water seems alive with secrets. Its surface is covered in vast wetlands, with knotted trees rising like ancient guardians, their roots plunging into dark pools, while moss and vines drape from their branches like curtains, filtering the dim light into soft green hues that make the world feel timeless. The air is heavy with mist, carrying the scent of earth and water, and at night, the swamp glows with bioluminescent insects. Fireflies drifting lazily over pools that ripple at the movement of hidden creatures, creating a lullaby of light and sound. Dagobah became known to the galaxy as the place of Yoda's exile, where the wise Jedi Master, carrying the weight of defeat and loss, sought refuge after the fall of the Jedi Order, guided there by the Force itself, which seemed to cloak the planet in its presence, hiding him from the eyes of the Empire. In his small hut, built of mud and branches, Yoda lived simply, cooking roots and stews, teaching lessons to Luke Skywalker amid the swamps, his wisdom echoing with the patience of the planet itself. Yet Dagobah is more than a refuge. It is a place of vision, for deep within its swamps lies the cave of the dark side, a wound in the Force where shadows whisper, where Luke faced visions of Vader, and where countless others might have seen their deepest fears. For Dagobah holds both light and darkness in equal measure, balanced as nature itself is balanced. The planet carries no cities, no technology, no great monuments, yet it endures as one of the most mystical worlds in the galaxy, because its silence teaches, its mist conceals and reveals, its creatures remind all who enter that life thrives even in the murkiest waters. To imagine Dagobah in a bedtime dream is to drift through its swamps in a small boat, the oar cutting softly through still water, fireflies glowing overhead, the air filled with the chorus of frogs and birds hidden in the branches, the mist wrapping around you like a blanket, the stars faint above but present, distant, steady. Dagobah whispers that strength is not only in lightsabers or armies, but in patience, in quiet, in resilience. It whispers that even in exile, wisdom can bloom, and even in darkness, light can be found. And so Dagobah, though swampy and strange, endures in memory as a place of deep peace, of hidden strength, of balance between life and decay, a reminder that the Force lives not in temples or towers, but in every vine, every ripple, every breath of mist drifting through the endless night. Dagobah, when lingered upon longer, reveals itself not only as a planet of swamps and fog, but as a living meditation on the nature of the Force itself, or in its quiet rhythms of growth and decay, in its balance between beauty and danger. It teaches the same truths that Jedi sought for millennia in temples carved of stone. Here, without monuments or archives, the Force is raw and present, flowing in every vine that curls around twisted trees, in every root that dips into murky waters, in every whisper of mist that curls along the surface at dawn. And it was in this purity that Yoda chose to spend his final years, letting the living Force guide him as he hid from the Empire, his solitude echoing not with despair but with acceptance. To Luke, the planet seemed alien, oppressive, even frightening at first, its caves echoing with shadows, its swamps filled with creatures both strange and dangerous. But to Yoda, Dagobah was the perfect teacher, stripping away distraction and leaving only the essence of life, survival, growth, patience. The dark side cave, carved like a wound into the roots of the swamp, embodied this lesson most of all. For when Luke entered, he faced not an enemy, but himself, his fears and doubts given form, reminding him that the true battle for any Jedi was not with an external foe, but within their own heart. Dagobah, in this way, becomes more than a place. It is a trial, a mirror, a crucible, in which the self is tested, and in its silence, lessons linger long after footsteps vanish. Yoda's hut, small and humble, with pots simmering on a simple stove, with bundles of herbs hanging from the roof, with a bed carved from roots and earth, became the last Jedi temple in spirit, its simplicity a sharp contrast to the grandeur of Coruscant's halls, reminding us that wisdom does not need monuments, only presence and truth. Yet Dagobah was not without comfort. When Luke sat with Yoda listening to the swamp's chorus of life, there was peace in the air, a sense that the galaxy beyond could wait, that in this moment the only thing that mattered was the breath, the lesson, the stillness. And when Yoda passed into the Force here, his body fading like mist at dawn, Dagobah seemed to sigh, its swamps glowing with quiet light, as though the planet itself honored the life that had ended within it. To imagine Dagobah as you drift into sleep is to picture yourself moving gently through its swamps, a lantern glowing faintly in the mist, fireflies circling lazily, frogs croaking in chorus, the air heavy yet soothing, and in the distance, Yoda's voice, soft and steady, reminding you that luminous beings are we, not this crude matter, and that the Force, like Dagobah's eternal mist, surrounds us, binds us, and sings us gently into dreams. Hoth, the frozen jewel of the outer rim, is a world of endless snow and silence, a planet where white stretches beyond sight, where glaciers rise like mountains of glass, and where the wind sings low and steady across plains of ice, carrying a sound that feels both lonely and eternal, like the galaxy itself breathing in winter. Its beauty is stark, its landscapes stripped to the essence of cold and light, the ground buried beneath layers of snow that sparkle in sunlight and glow pale under moonlight, creating horizons that feel infinite, untouched by the noise of cities or the weight of history. It was here, in the hidden caverns of Echo Base, that the Rebel Alliance once carved out a sanctuary, building warm halls in the belly of a glacier, their lights glowing softly against frozen walls, their laughter and determination echoing in chambers that smelled of frost and fuel, a fragile defiance hidden in the vastness of snow. Outside, Tauntauns padded across the tundra, their fur thick against the cold, their breaths steaming in the air, while predators like the towering wampus lurked in icy caves, reminders that even in silence, danger still lived. The battle that came to Hoth is remembered in the galaxy as one of the rebellion's darkest hours, the ground trembling as Imperial walkers, massive and implacable, marched across the snow, their shadows long against the white, their cannons thundering as fire ripped through Echo Base, forcing the rebels to scatter into the stars once again. But Hoth itself did not change, for the snow fell before, and the snow fell after. The wind sang the same lullaby across the plains, indifferent to war, steady as always. At night, the sky above Hoth is breathtaking, its stars clear and sharp against blackness, each constellation twinkling with icy brilliance, while auroras ripple faintly near the poles, painting the heavens in soft green and blue waves that shimmer like curtains of light. And in those moments, Hoth becomes not harsh, but serene. A cradle of silence where the galaxy feels closer, where the force hums not in temples, but in the quiet rhythm of frost and time. To imagine Hoth in a dream is to feel the crunch of snow beneath boots, the chill of air that bites but also clears the mind, the sound of wind rising and falling like a lullaby, and to see in the distance the soft glow of a base lit from within, where warmth and camaraderie push back the cold. Hoth reminds us that even in the harshest places, life endures, courage rises, and beauty persists, not in flowers or rivers, but in the glitter of snow at dawn, in the shimmer of stars on ice, in the simple constancy of a world that sleeps always beneath its blanket of white, unyielding, eternal, and strangely comforting. Hoth, when remembered more deeply, becomes not only the stage of a battle, but a symbol of how fragile hope can survive even in the harshest places. For Echo Base was more than walls of ice and hangars dug into glaciers. It was a heartbeat of rebellion, carved from frost by hands that refused to surrender, filled with the hum of generators and the warmth of camaraderie as soldiers, pilots, and dreamers shared meals, patched starfighters, and told stories under the constant drip of melting ice. In those frozen halls, Leia Organa's voice guided with calm command, Han Solo's sarcasm cut through the cold, and Luke Skywalker's presence grew from restless pilot to Jedi in waiting, his destiny carried even in the frost-bitten winds. Outside, patrols struggled against the merciless climate, scanning endless white horizons for threats, while Tauntauns pawed at snow and breathed clouds into the frigid air, their loyalty carrying riders across plains where blizzards swallowed sight and silence, pressed like a weight. Yet within this stillness came danger, for the caves hid wampus, towering predators who stalked unwary rebels, reminders that even the galaxy's most desolate corners carried teeth. The day the Empire arrived, the quiet of Hoth was shattered, the ground trembling beneath the march of AT-AT walkers, colossal and unyielding, their steps shaking snow from cliffs, their cannons igniting fire across the plains, the battle etched forever in memory as white fields blazed with fire and smoke, X-wings and snowspeeders darting between the walkers' legs in desperate defiance, harpoons and tow cables spinning like threads of hope against giants of metal. The rebels lost Echo Base, but Hoth itself did not lose. It remained as it always had been, its snows falling before, during, and after, indifferent to empires and rebellions, eternal in its rhythm. At night, when the stars stretch sharp and endless above Hoth, the world feels more dream than real. The auroras glowing in waves of soft green across the horizon, the snow glittering with starlight, and in that serenity, one can almost forget the thunder of cannons, hearing only the whisper of wind, steady and ancient. Hoth, in the galaxy's imagination, became the embodiment of resilience. The place where the rebellion showed that survival is sometimes victory enough, that even when driven from warmth and light, hope can flicker in the cold and still endure. To dream of Hoth now is to walk its plains in silence, to feel the crunch of snow underfoot, to watch breath curl into the air and fade, to see the faint glow of a base long gone but remembered, and to know that even in ice and silence, the galaxy's story beats on Hoth lingers in the galaxy's imagination, not simply because of the battle fought upon its frozen plains, but because of what it represents. For it is a world where silence is louder than cannons, where cold stretches endlessly yet life still persists, and where the rebellion's spirit was carved into ice as surely as trenches were cut into snow. Long after Echo Base was abandoned, the caverns still hold the imprint of its warmth. Walls scorched faintly by heaters, hangars echoing with the memory of starfighters once lined in rows, laughter of pilots and engineers fading into the frost. And though the Empire claimed victory, the planet itself remained untouched, its glaciers indifferent to triumph or defeat. Hoth feels timeless, a place where the galaxy's wars were only a brief disturbance in a cycle of snow, storms, and stillness. And it whispers of resilience through its very air. Tauntauns huddled close against blizzards, hardy lichens clinging to rocks beneath snowdrifts, wampas stalking their prey with patience honed by scarcity, all of them embodying survival, quiet, steady, unyielding. The auroras at night stretch across the sky like curtains of green flame, shimmering silently as stars burn sharp and distant, their light reflecting in the ice until the world itself seems to glow. And in these nights, Hoth becomes almost peaceful, as though the planet itself sighs in relief once the noise of battle is gone, resuming its eternal rhythm. In bedtime dreams, Hoth is not a battlefield, but a lullaby of white horizons, of snowflakes falling slowly through still air, of soft crunch beneath boots as one walks across endless plains, breath clouding into the silence. And in that silence, there is peace, a reminder that even when storms rage and wars intrude, there are places where the galaxy pauses, where time slows, and where the stars above feel closer than anywhere else. Hoth endures in memory as more than a frozen wasteland. It is the symbol of endurance, of survival in the face of impossible odds, of finding warmth amid cold and light amid shadow. And though its surface may never blossom with meadows or forests, it blossoms instead with the quiet strength of resilience, and that too is beauty. Endor, the forest moon, is a world where the trees themselves feel like guardians, their trunks rising so high that their crowns vanish into the sky, their roots weaving across the ground in tangled knots that hold the soil like ancient hands. And between them lies a hush that feels sacred, a silence broken only by the calls of birds, the rustle of leaves, and the distant roar of waterfalls plunging into rivers below. To step into Endor's forests is to step into a cathedral of nature, its canopy glowing green when sunlight streams through, its ground blanketed with moss and ferns that cushion each footstep until walking feels like drifting in a dream. This moon, remembered most for the Battle of Endor, is more than a battlefield. It is a home, a living cradle for the Ewoks, small, unresourceful beings who built their villages high among the branches, huts of wood and rope strung together with bridges that sway gently in the breeze, fires crackling as night falls and the stars emerge above the treetops, filling the skies with endless light. For the Ewoks, life is simple but rich, gathering food from the forest, hunting with slings and spears, celebrating with drums and flutes, their music echoing through the trees at twilight like a lullaby. while the fires they build glow against the bark, sending sparks upward to mingle with the stars. Endor's forests witnessed one of the greatest turning points in galactic history, for it was here, beneath towering redwoods, that the second Death Star fell, its wreckage burning in the skies above as the Empire's shadow cracked. And it was here that the Ewoks, with their courage and cunning, proved that even the smallest and most overlooked could topple giants, their traps and stones turning the tide of battle as surely as starfighters above. Yet once the noise of battle faded, the forest returned to its rhythm, the trees swaying, the rivers flowing, the Ewoks dancing and feasting in celebration, their laughter carrying into the night as the stars twinkled in quiet approval. To dream of Endor is to imagine lying on a bed of moss beneath trees that rise like pillars, fireflies drifting between branches, the air filled with the soft hum of the forest at rest, and in the distance, drums beating a slow, steady rhythm that feels like a heartbeat. Endor is a world of contrasts, serene yet fierce, quiet yet strong, and it remains in memory not only as the place where the rebellion triumphed, but as a symbol of how harmony with nature, courage in simplicity, and unity among the humble can shift the course of history. To close your eyes and wander Endor in sleep is to feel its peace, to hear its lullaby of leaves and stars, and to know that even in a galaxy of war, there are places where the trees still stand tall, where fires still glow warmly, where laughter still echoes through the night, and where life endures, evergreen, eternal. Endor, when remembered beyond the clash of blasters and the fall of empires, reveals itself as a place of stories and survival, where the Ewoks, who once seemed small and simple, proved that courage and unity could topple machines of war, their triumph echoing through history not only as the victory of the rebellion, but as a reminder that strength is not measured by size, but by spirit. Their villages, strung high in the canopy, remain glowing havens at night, wooden huts connected by rope bridges, swaying gently in the breeze, fires burning warmly as families gather, their songs rising into the treetops until even the stars above seem to listen. The Ewoks' way of life is one of harmony with the forest. They hunt carefully, use what they need, craft tools and weapons from bone and wood, and treat the towering trees not as resources to be consumed, but as guardians to be honored. Their traditions weaving nature and community together in a rhythm as steady as the heartbeat of the moon itself. The Battle of Endor brought outsiders, soldiers, and machines, and though it scarred the land with fire and wreckage, the Ewoks reclaimed it in their own way, turning the remains of walkers into monuments, drums, and shelters, reshaping symbols of oppression into reminders of freedom, just as they turned their celebration into a legend carried across the stars. To imagine Endor in the years after the battle is to see children climbing fallen trees that once hid stormtroopers, to hear elders telling the story of the Golden God, C-3PO, whose glowing presence rallied them to courage, and to feel the forest breathe easier, as though the removal of the Empire's weight allowed it to sigh in relief. Yet Endor is more than memory, it is myth, for the galaxy came to see it not only as a battlefield, but as a sacred place where darkness was undone by light, where a father was redeemed by his son, and where the tide of war turned beneath ancient trees. To dream of Endor now is to feel the moss soft beneath your hands, to hear the drums echo gently like a heartbeat in the distance, to see the canopy open to a sky blazing with stars, and to know that here, in this green cradle, the galaxy found not only victory but peace, Endor whispers that even the smallest can change the course of destiny, that harmony with nature is strength, and that joy and laughter, echoing through the night, can be as powerful as any fleet. And so the forest moon endures in the galaxy's lullaby, evergreen, eternal, and serene. Endor, as time moved on, became more than a forest moon and more than a battlefield. It became a symbol, a place where the galaxy looked back with reverence, telling stories of how courage and unity bloomed among the trees, of how small wooden villages and simple spears stood against the iron might of the Empire, and of how firelight and laughter triumphed over fear and silence. In the years that followed, pilgrims and storytellers spoke of Endor with a tone usually reserved for temples, calling it sacred ground. For here the tide of history shifted, here the Empire fractured, here a father's redemption changed the destiny of stars. The Ewoks themselves, though often underestimated, grew into legends, their drumming and dancing remembered as the sounds of victory, their bravery woven into song, and though they returned to their ordinary rhythms of life, hunting, gathering, celebrating under the canopy, the galaxy never forgot their role, painting them as symbols of innocence that could endure war and yet keep their joy. The forest, too, absorbed these echoes. At-To wreckage, covered in moss, became playgrounds for children, the bones of battle turning into part of the forest's endless cycle. Nature reclaiming machines just as it always has. The Death Star's fall left fragments in orbit, glowing faintly like artificial moons, a reminder visible from the ground that even the mightiest weapon of fear can crumble. To walk Endor at night, long after the war, is to see a forest restored to quiet, fires glowing warmly in tree villages, sparks rising like prayers into the canopy, drums tapping slow and steady like a heartbeat, and laughter carried gently on the wind. To lie in its mossy fields is to watch the stars between branches, and to feel the calm of a galaxy that, for once, chose celebration over sorrow. Endor is a lullaby of resilience, of how light can emerge from the simplest of places, of how joy itself can be a weapon, and of how peace, when embraced, feels eternal. To dream of Endor is to wander its forest barefoot, to feel the cool earth beneath, to cross a rope bridge, swaying gently between huts lit by lanterns, to hear the distant chorus of Ewok songs blending with the whisper of leaves, and to know that here, among the trees, the galaxy's heart once beat brighter than ever, and still does. Kashyyyk, the great Wookiee homeworld, is a planet where the forest itself is the world, where colossal roshir trees rise like living mountains, their trunks so wide that villages can be built within their hollows, their crowns vanishing into the sky where clouds drift around branches the size of city streets, and where life thrives in endless layers, from the shadowed forest floor to the sunlit canopy high above. To walk Kashyyyk is to feel small, humbled by the immensity of nature, each step cushioned by moss and leaves, each breath filled with the scent of wood, water, and earth, the air alive with bird song and the calls of unseen beasts echoing through the trees. The Wookiees, tall and strong, yet gentle and loyal, have lived here for millennia in harmony with the forest, building their villages in the high branches where bridges of woven wood sway in the wind. Huts glow warmly with firelight, and families gather around meals while the night hums with the life of the forest. They are hunters and warriors, yes, but also artisans and singers, their voices carrying in deep, resonant tones that mingle with the rustle of leaves, turning every evening into a lullaby sung by both people and world together. Kashyyyk has known peace and war, for during the Clone Wars it became a battlefield, its forests echoing not with song, but with blaster fire as droid armies clashed with Jedi and Wookiee defenders beneath the towering trees. And though the Republic promised protection, betrayal came swiftly. Order 66 turning allies into enemies, the Jedi cut down, and the Wookiees themselves enslaved by the Empire, their strength exploited, their freedom stripped, their forests scarred by machines that did not respect the balance of nature. Yet Kashyyyk endured, for the Wookiees are resilient as their trees, bending but not breaking, fighting in secret, resisting in shadows, carrying their traditions even when shackled, their loyalty and honor never lost. To dream of Kashyyyk is to stand upon a platform high above the ground, the canopy stretching in every direction like a green ocean, the wind cool against your face, the stars glittering between branches, and below the forest floor a shadowy mystery filled with creatures both wondrous and dangerous, a reminder that life here is layered, complex, alive in ways both beautiful and fearsome. Kashyyyk is a world that teaches patience, that strength is not only in muscle but in loyalty, that harmony with nature is not weakness but wisdom, and that even in oppression, hope can root itself and grow. Its rivers still flow with silver light at dawn. Its trees still sway in harmony with the wind, and its people still honor the bonds of life, debt, and family that define them. To imagine Kashyyyk at night is to hear the soft crackle of fires in tree villages, the low hum of Wookiee songs drifting across bridges, and the gentle rustle of leaves high above, a chorus of planet and people blending into a lullaby as ancient as the galaxy itself. Kashyyyk, when lingered upon in memory, reveals even more layers of life and meaning, for its vast forests are not only landscapes, but stories carved in living wood, each rocher tree a chronicle of centuries, each ring in its trunk holding secrets of storms survived, of battles witnessed, of generations sheltered within its boughs. In the lower shadows, strange creatures lurk, the Katarns, the netcasters, the carnivorous sirens, reminders that life on Kashyyyk is not gentle but demanding, requiring courage and balance. And yet the Wookiees thrive here, their strength not only in their towering stature, but in their unshakable bonds to one another, to family, and to honor. The concept of the life debt, sacred among them, ties one Wookiee's fate to another who saved their life, a vow stronger than chains, stronger than fear. And it was this vow that bound Chewbacca to Han Solo, a bond that carried through wars and into legends, their friendship itself becoming one of the galaxy's greatest stories of loyalty. Kashyyyk's forests hum with more than wildlife. They hum with the Force, for the Jedi long held a bond with the Wookiees, respecting their wisdom and their fierce sense of justice. And it was here that Yoda himself once fought alongside them, his small figure moving through towering trunks as droid armies advanced, the clash of war echoing through the canopy, a reminder that even paradise is not safe from galactic turmoil. The scars of the Clone Wars and the tyranny of the Empire left their mark upon Kashyyyk. Its people enslaved, its forests burned, its harmony disrupted. Yet even under oppression, the Wookiees held fast to their culture. Their songs still sung in low voices around fires, their families still gathering in secret to honor their ancestors, their courage never broken. To imagine Kashyyyk at twilight is to picture a village strung high in the canopy, lanterns glowing golden against the darkening green, bridges swaying gently as children laugh and swing from ropes, the air filled with the smell of wood smoke and roasted food, and in the distance, the endless murmur of the forest floor, alive with the creatures unseen but felt, a lullaby of life layered upon life. Kashyyyk teaches that strength is not domination but harmony, that endurance comes not from resisting nature, but from living within it, and that loyalty, whether to family, to friend, or to the galaxy itself, is the truest power of all. And so the planet endures in galactic memory as a place of towering majesty and unyielding spirit, where the trees stretch to the stars as if trying to bridge sky and earth, and where the Wookiees, guardians of their world, stand as living symbols of resilience, honor, and hope. Alderaan, perhaps the most beloved of all worlds lost to the galaxy, was a planet of breathtaking beauty and profound peace, its landscapes filled with snow-capped mountains that glittered beneath golden dawns, rolling green valleys alive with flowers that swayed in alpine winds, and crystalline lakes so clear they mirrored the heavens, while its skies often glowed in soft hues of blue and violet, creating horizons that seemed painted for dreamers. It was a place where civilization and nature lived in harmony, where cities were built not to dominate the land, but to rise gracefully from it. Domes and spires nestled into hillsides and ridges so that, from afar, they seemed an extension of the earth itself, glowing warmly at night, with lanterns and firelight that shimmered like stars fallen upon the ground. The people of Alderaan cherished peace, not through weakness, but through wisdom, valuing education, diplomacy, and art above conquest. Their culture rich with music and poetry. Their universities filled with scholars who pursued knowledge, not for power, but for the enrichment of life. And in this devotion to beauty and justice, Alderaan became known as a beacon, a voice in the Senate, always urging compassion, restraint, and understanding when others clamored for war. Its royal family embodied the spirit, with Bail Organa and his daughter Leia carrying forward the world's legacy into the heart of galactic history, standing as symbols of hope and resistance against tyranny, their courage rooted not in armies, but in ideals nurtured by the mountains and meadows of their home. To walk Alderaan's fields in twilight was to hear the rustle of grass like a gentle hymn, to see flocks of birds sweeping across the sky in patterns like brushstrokes of living color, to sit by a riverbank and hear the water's steady flow mingling with the laughter of children and the soft strum of instruments played in open courtyards. Yet the beauty of Alderaan is remembered not only for what it was, but for the tragedy of what befell it. For in a single moment, in the shadow of the Death Star, it was extinguished, its mountains shattered, its rivers boiled away, its people, millions of voices silenced, their cries echoing through the Force as if the galaxy itself had gasped. That loss became one of the deepest wounds in galactic memory, a scar that could never heal, yet even in destruction, Alderaan's spirit endured, carried in the ideals of Leia, in the rebellion it inspired, in the memory that beauty and peace, though fragile, are worth defending even against impossible odds. To dream of Alderaan now is to reconstruct it in starlight, to picture valleys glowing with wildflowers beneath a summer sky, to hear music carried on wind, to feel the warmth of hearths glowing in mountain villages, and to know that though the planet is gone, it still lives in the galaxy's dreams, in every act of compassion, in every voice that chooses peace over war, in every heart that remembers. Alderaan is no longer a place but a song, a lullaby of beauty, harmony, and sacrifice, reminding all who hear it that worlds can be lost, but ideals endure, and that the Force, like memory, carries everything forward, eternal and alive. Alderaan, when remembered beyond the image of its sudden destruction, becomes even more luminous in memory because it was not only a world of landscapes, but a way of life, a culture that chose beauty, wisdom, and compassion over conquest. its philosophy woven into every hall and hearth, every school and garden. Its scholars were renowned for their dedication to truth. Their universities filled with voices debating ethics and art as fervently as others debated strategy and war. And its musicians filled plazas with symphonies that drifted across mountain valleys, the notes carrying like wind-borne prayers. Alderaan's people believed deeply in stewardship of nature, in cities that blended with hills and rivers rather than conquered them, in homes built of stone and glass that reflected sunrise rather than defied it, their architecture a reflection of their ideals: balance, harmony, respect. The monarchy of Alderaan, though royal in name, was never one of opulence and tyranny, but of guardianship. The Organa family seen not as rulers, but as stewards, caretakers of a heritage that prized peace as strength. And it was this heritage that Bail Organa carried into the Senate, his voice always calling for diplomacy even as the Republic crumbled. And that Leia Organa carried into the rebellion, her courage born not of armies, but of the conviction that the galaxy deserved something better than fear. When the Death Star fired and Alderaan was reduced to fragments, the galaxy felt the wound like a blow to the spirit, as if beauty itself had been silenced. Yet in truth, Alderaan's voice only grew louder, because the memory of its valleys and rivers, of its songs and its ideals, became fuel for rebellion, a reminder that tyranny could not be allowed to stand, that if such a world could be lost in an instant, then no time could be wasted in resisting darkness. Survivors of Alderaan carried their culture into exile, holding festivals on other worlds where music and poetry honored the lost home, teaching children about the mountains and lakes they would never see, keeping alive the dream of peace so that it would never fade. And in this way, Alderaan lived on, not as soil or stone, but as spirit. To dream of Alderaan now is to see fields of wildflowers glowing in twilight, to hear laughter echoing through courtyards strung with lanterns, to feel the warmth of sun on mountain slopes, and to know that though its body was broken, its soul endures in every act of kindness, in every call for justice, in every choice to build rather than destroy. Alderaan became a lullaby in the galaxy's memory, a reminder sung softly in the hearts of all who long for peace. The beauty is fragile, but it is worth everything to protect. And though the stars watch silently as Alderaan fell, they still carry its reflection, eternal and unbroken, in the light they scatter across the night sky. Bespin, the gas giant of shifting golds and oranges, is a planet where the skies themselves are the world, for beneath its endless clouds lies only pressure and storm. Yet floating far above this abyss is Cloud City, a jewel suspended in air, its shining towers gleaming like polished ivory against the sunset, its long platforms drifting quietly amid mists that stretch forever, and its corridors humming with the soft rhythm of life lived in luxury above an ocean of gas. Cloud City was built first as a mining colony, harvesting Tabana gas from the planet's depths, its machinery pulling wealth from the storms below. Yet in time it became something far more than industry. It became elegance, a place where refined halls and glowing windows made miners feel as though they lived in a palace of air. To approach Cloud City from the skies is to descend into dream. The landing platforms stretching from towers bathed in sunlight, the air filled with the faint hum of engines and the sigh of winds that never stop moving. To walk its halls is to hear the quiet echoes of footsteps on polished floors, to look out windows and see only sky in every direction. Sunsets painting the clouds in waves of crimson and violet, stars peeking through at night, until the whole world feels like a floating dream suspended between light and dark. Under Lando Calrissian's rule, Cloud City became more than industry, becoming a haven of charm and diplomacy, a place where deals were made with a smile, where art and music filled chambers as surely as Tabana filled minds, where elegance masked risk and fortune was built on both daring and chance. Yet Cloud City is remembered most not for its wealth or beauty, but for the duel that unfolded within its halls. When Luke Skywalker faced Darth Vader for the first time, sabers clashing in corridors where light poured through windows, the struggle carrying into the carbon freezing chamber, where steam rose like smoke from a dream, orange glow lighting the clash of blue and red, and where Luke's fate shifted forever with the revelation that scarred his soul as deeply as Vader's blade scarred his hand. Afterward, Cloud City stood silent, its corridors haunted by the memory of a battle that shook the galaxy. Yet the city endured, for its miners returned, its halls filled again with laughter, its towers still glowing like lanterns against the endless sky. To imagine Bespin at night is to picture yourself standing on a balcony of Cloud City, the wind cool against your face, the horizon stretching in every direction, with clouds rolling slowly beneath you like waves on an endless ocean, stars scattered above like diamonds spilled across velvet, the city itself glowing softly as if suspended between the heavens and dreams. Bespin whispers of fragility, of how beauty can float above storms, of how peace can exist even when danger looms below, and it endures in the galaxy's memory as a place both serene and fateful. A reminder that sometimes destiny unfolds not on battlefields but in halls of elegance, and that even above oceans of storm, there can be silence, calm, and the steady hum of life suspended in light. Bespin and its Cloud City, when considered more deeply, take on an almost mythical quality because they embody the dream of building harmony in a place that should be uninhabitable, of suspending life above storms that would crush and destroy, and turning a dangerous world into one of elegance, comfort, and quiet prosperity. For though the city gleams with polished floors and refined corridors, beneath its beauty is the constant labor of miners who descend into the layers of gas in floating rigs, siphoning Tabana vapor that glows faintly as it is drawn upward, a substance vital to the galaxy's starfighters and blasters, making Bespin's skies as valuable as any world's soil. These miners live with the awareness that only the city's engines and balance keep them safe, that a misstep or malfunction would mean falling into endless storms, yet their lives are not filled with fear, but with a kind of reverence for the sky, an acceptance of its danger and its beauty. For the clouds roll like oceans, shifting with dawn and dusk, glowing pink and gold when the sun hits them, or dark and thunderous when storms gather below. And those who live in Cloud City grow accustomed to looking out windows and seeing nothing but horizon, as if they lived within the galaxy's own dream. Daily life in the city hums with contrasts. Gamblers and merchants filling cantinas, miners rising early to descend into the mist, children running along gleaming walkways where the ground is always far below, and in the evenings, music drifting through lounges where windows open onto sunsets so vast they seem eternal, turning ordinary nights into living paintings. Visitors often describe Cloud City as peaceful yet surreal, as though one is both grounded and floating at once. And perhaps this is why destinies turned here, why choices made within its corridors carried such weight. Because the city feels suspended not only above storms, but above time itself, caught between heaven and abyss. Even after the duel of Luke and Vader scarred its memory, Cloud City endured. Because its people returned to their lives, its halls filled again with laughter, its turbines and engines humming steadily, and its windows glowing at dusk like lanterns strung across the sky. To imagine Bespin in a bedtime dream is to picture yourself standing on a balcony high above clouds, the air cool against your face, the horizon stretching into endless gold and violet waves, the city lights glowing softly at your back, and far below, the clouds shifting slowly like tides upon an infinite sea, their silence soothing, their depth humbling, their presence eternal. Bespin whispers that beauty can be built even in dangerous places, that elegance can float above storms, and that even when battles intrude and shadows fall, life finds its rhythm again, glowing softly like Cloud City itself against the vast and unending night. Bespin's Cloud City, when remembered in its quietest light, feels less like a settlement and more like a dream suspended above eternity. For it is a place where people live in the sky itself, each day surrounded not by fields or oceans, but by endless clouds that shift like painted seas, glowing gold at sunrise, deep violet at dusk, and silver at night beneath stars that seem to rest upon their surface. In this floating city, ordinary life continues in extraordinary circumstances. Children playing in courtyards that overlook horizons without ground, merchants arranging stalls of fabrics and jewels in promenades lit by glass ceilings that spill soft sunlight, miners returning from long shifts in rigs that dive into the gas layers below, their skin kissed faintly by the vaporous glow of Tabana gas, their hearts beating with quiet pride that their labor fuels the galaxy's ships and weapons, and musicians filling lounges with gentle melodies that mingle with the sigh of winds outside, so that the city itself seems to hum in harmony with the sky. For all its elegance, Cloud City is also fragile, a jewel balanced upon turbines and stabilizers that must never falter. And so every citizen lives with an awareness of the abyss below, a humility that blends awe and caution into daily life. And perhaps this is why the people of Cloud City often carry themselves with a calm grace, their laughter tempered with gratitude, their footsteps light upon the polished floors. The duel of Luke and Vader left a scar upon the city's memory. The carbon-freezing chamber remembered not only for its glowing haze of steam and orange light, but for the moment when destinies shifted, when truth and pain descended upon a boy who came searching for answers and found shadows instead. Yet even after such echoes faded, Cloud City endured because its essence has always been resilience, a belief that life can be built beautifully even above storms. To dream of Bespin now is to stand upon a balcony as the sun sets, the clouds rolling below like waves upon an eternal ocean, the air cool with wind that smells faintly of vapor and metal, the city glowing behind you with soft lantern light, laughter and music drifting faintly through open windows, and before you, the horizon stretching forever, quiet, serene, a reminder that even in the galaxy's turbulence, there are places where calm can float above chaos, steady and luminous. Bespin is both a marvel of industry and a sanctuary of peace, both a stage of destiny and a cradle of ordinary life. And it endures in the galaxy's lullaby as a city that chose to rise above storms, glowing always against the twilight, eternal as the clouds, eternal as dreams. Ahch-To, the ocean world where the Jedi first took root, and where Luke Skywalker's journey found its quiet conclusion, is a planet of stone, sea, and silence. A place where waves crash endlessly against jagged cliffs, their spray rising like mist to kiss ancient green hills, and where seabirds wheel overhead in slow circles, their cries echoing in the wind. To stand upon Ahch-To is to feel the rawness of the galaxy itself, for here the land is sparse, carved only by time and tide, its slopes dotted with stone huts, so old they seemed to grow from the earth itself, once dwellings for the first Jedi who sought wisdom in solitude, and later for Luke, who returned in exile, weary and broken, yet drawn to the same serenity that had guided the Order's beginnings. The island at the heart of the world is a place of ritual. Its cliffs rising sharply above the waters, stairways carved into rock winding upward to where the first Jedi temple still stands in ruin, its stones weathered by rain but steady, its presence humming with a force so strong that even silence feels alive, as if every gust of wind carries a whisper of memory. Porgs nest among the stones, their small wings beating clumsily, their curious eyes reflecting both innocence and persistence. And thalassirons graze upon the shores, their massive forms moving slowly against the backdrop of restless waves, while fishers in simple boats drift upon the waters, their nets glistening with silver catches that sparkle beneath Ahch-To's twin suns. Luke, in his solitude, wandered these cliffs, drinking in the salt of the air, listening to the roar of the ocean as his own thoughts thundered within, the weight of failure pressing upon him. Yet, in the stillness he found also the rhythm of life, ebb and flow, loss and renewal, shadow and light, etched into the very bones of the island. It was on Ahch-To that Rey came, seeking a master, but finding instead the truth that the Force is not bound to one order or one man, but lives in balance all around. In the birds wheeling over cliffs, in the waves crashing against stone, in the silence of dawn when the first rays of sunlight spill golden across the sea. To dream of Ahch-To is to hear the sea as a lullaby, its waves steady as breathing, its winds carrying the scent of salt and moss, its stones humming faintly with the memory of those who once sought knowledge here, and to see the horizon stretch forever, no end in sight, only water and sky eternal and patient. Ahch-To whispers of beginnings and endings, of how every exile may become a teacher, of how every ruin still holds truth, and of how the galaxy's greatest lessons are not written in books, but in the tide, in the wind, in the silence that carries the Force itself. To close your eyes and rest in Ahch-To is to feel the weight of time drift away, to breathe with the ocean, and to know that even in solitude, you are never alone, for the Force, like the sea, binds all things in its eternal embrace. Ahch-To, when dwelled upon longer, feels less like a planet, and more like a meditation carved into stone and sea, for its cliffs and waves seem to speak directly of the Force, of balance, of patience, of endings that are also beginnings. And it is here that the first Jedi once raised their temple, stacking stones into simple domes that even after thousands of years still stand, weathered but enduring, silent yet alive with presence, as though the Force itself anchors them against time and tide. To walk among these ruins is to feel the history of an order that sought to understand life not through dominance, but through observation. Its founders listening to the ocean as teacher, the wind as guide, the stars as scripture. When Luke came here, broken by failure, he did not seek to learn, but to vanish. Yet the island shaped him as it had the first Jedi, pressing him into silence until he could hear again what was always there, the rhythm of waves, the call of birds, the hum of the Force, flowing not from temples or texts, but from the simple truth of life around him. His hut, carved into stone, was humble and dark, lit by lanterns and warmed by fire. Yet within those walls he wrestled with his own shadow, the weight of legacy heavy upon him, until Rey arrived and the solitude of Ahch-To was cracked open, revealing not only Luke's weariness, but also the possibility of renewal, as the girl who had come to learn reminded the Master that endings are only transformations, that the Force is not to be hidden away, but lived. The Porgs, chattering with bright curiosity, became companions in his exile, while the caretakers, ancient and deliberate in their duties, tended the old temple grounds with rituals passed down through centuries, their presence a reminder that even when empires rise and fall, life continues in quiet devotion. Ahch-To, with its cliffs plunging into seas that stretch forever, its skies shifting from gold to storm to silver stillness, became not only a sanctuary but a mirror, showing those who arrived not what they sought, but what they needed. For Luke, it was acceptance. For Rey, it was awakening. For the Jedi as a whole, it was remembrance of their beginnings. To imagine Ahch-To in a bedtime dream is to picture yourself standing barefoot on its cliffs as the wind whirls salt through the air, the horizon glowing with the last light of the sun, the sea murmuring below like a lullaby, the stones around you whispering of generations long gone but never lost, and above, stars shining steady as the tide, eternal as the Force itself. Ahch-To is not merely a place of exile or legend. It is the breath between storms, the pause between heartbeats, the silence that carries the galaxy's oldest truths, and it endures in memory as the world where the Jedi began and where they were reborn in balance, in light, in quiet. Exegol, the hidden world of the Sith, lies shrouded in storm and secrecy, a planet of eternal night where jagged cliffs rise like broken teeth from an endless wasteland, where lightning dances across a sky that never clears, and where shadows seem to move of their own will, heavy with the echo of ancient rituals and forgotten power. To set foot on Exegol is to feel the very air press against you, thick and electric, humming with a presence that feels both alive and oppressive. The dark side of the Force so strong it seems to shape the ground itself, turning stone into jagged towers, turning silence into whispers that linger at the edge of hearing. It is here that the Sith Eternal built their temples, vast structures carved from obsidian, their spires reaching upward like claws grasping for the storm, their interiors lit only by the pale glow of lightning through cracks in the walls. Chambers filled with statues of Sith long dead, their faces frozen in silent judgment, their presence heavy in the air. Beneath the ground, catacombs stretch endlessly, filled with relics of an order that thrived in shadows, and deeper still, laboratories and forges where experiments in life and death blurred the line between science and sorcery, where secrets too dark for the galaxy above were hidden. It was on Exegol that Emperor Palpatine, thought destroyed, lingered in secret, his voice carried by cultists who bowed in silence, his throne set upon a dais of black stone that loomed over an arena filled with thousands of hooded figures who chanted without end, their voices rising like the storm outside. Yet even in its darkness, Exegol carries a strange beauty, the way lightning illuminates its canyons in sudden flashes of silver, the way its skies churn with endless motion, the way its silence feels deeper than space itself, pulling you into stillness. To imagine Exegol in a dream is to walk slowly through its temples, the air cool and heavy, the stone beneath your feet polished by centuries, torches flickering against carvings of ancient battles, the thunder outside rumbling like a slow, steady drumbeat. And though fear whispers in the shadows, there is also awe, for here history feels eternal, carved into stone and storm. Exegol reminds us that darkness, too, is part of the galaxy's balance, that fear and ambition leave their marks just as hope and peace do, and that even the most hidden of worlds can alter the destiny of stars. To drift off with Exegol in your thoughts is to see lightning flicker faintly across endless night, to hear the murmur of unseen voices chanting softly, to feel the pull of shadows that, while heavy, carry the weight of memory and myth, and to know that, even in the deepest dark, the Force still breathes, eternal, patient waiting. Exegol, when lingered upon in memory, becomes more than a planet of storms and stone. It becomes the embodiment of secrecy itself, a place that exists half in myth and half in fear, where the Sith eternal carried on traditions so ancient they seemed older than the galaxy. Their rituals carved into walls of obsidian, their voices rising in chants that echoed like thunder across cavernous halls lit only by flickering torches. In those temples, statues of forgotten lords loomed higher than towers, their eyes unblinking, their presence heavy, as though the very stone remembered every betrayal, every ambition, every dark victory that had shaped the Order, and cultists in countless numbers bowed in silence, their devotion unwavering, their lives lived only to preserve a vision of the Sith that defied death itself. It was here that Palpatine, scarred and broken, but not destroyed, raised his throne upon a black dais shaped like claws of stone, his shadow stretching across a hall so vast it seemed carved not by hand, but by the galaxy itself. And from here he whispered his will into the void, guiding fleets unseen, commanding loyalties forged in fear, his presence a ghost that stretched its fingers across the stars even when the galaxy believed him gone. Beneath the surface, laboratories and forges worked endlessly, birthing fleets of warships in secret, their engines silent until called upon, their numbers hidden in storm and shadow. And in this machinery of dread, Exegol became not only a temple, but a factory of fear, the last great secret of the Sith. Yet the world was not only steel and stone, but also storm and silence. For between lightning strikes, the sky glowed pale blue for a moment, casting the jagged cliffs into strange beauty, and the endless plains, barren and cold, stretched so far that they seemed to merge with the storm itself, a horizon without end, timeless and heavy. To dream of Exegol in sleep is to wander through a hall of shadows where chants echo low and steady, to feel stone beneath your feet polished by centuries of devotion, to see lightning illuminate statues that seem almost alive, their faces solemn, their gazes fixed on eternity, and to hear the steady rhythm of thunder like a heartbeat, ancient and unending. Exegol whispers of ambition and secrecy, of power hidden, until the moment it bursts forth like lightning in the night, of how shadows can endure even when the light believes it has triumphed. And it endures in the galaxy's dream not only as the Sith's final refuge, but as the embodiment of their truth, that fear, ambition, and secrecy are as eternal as the stars, always waiting in silence, always whispering in a storm. Jakku, the lonely desert world, is often remembered only as a wasteland, a place of dust and ruin. But within its endless sands lies a quiet depth, a story of survival and destiny woven into dunes that stretch as far as the eye can see, their ridges glowing orange and gold beneath twin suns and cooling into shadows of deep violet as night falls. Its villages are small, its people hardened by scarcity, scavengers sifting through wreckage of wars long past, pulling metals and parts from skeletons of starships that litter the horizon, colossal remnants of battles fought in the skies above, their broken hulls lying half-buried in sand like the bones of giants. To walk Jakku is to feel both isolation and wonder, For though its heat scorches by day, and its cold bites by night, its silence is vast, its horizons endless, and the stars that emerge after sunset feel closer than anywhere else, sharp and steady against the black canvas above. For Rey, who grew up amid this harshness, Jakku was both prison and teacher, its emptiness teaching her patience, its scavenging teaching her resilience, its solitude teaching her strength. But Jakku's history stretches deeper, for it was not always merely a scavenger's world. It was here that remnants of the Empire made their last stand, battles raging in the skies and on the ground as the New Republic broke their hold. The clash so fierce that entire fleets fell from orbit, raining wreckage onto the desert and leaving behind the graveyard of ships that still gleam half buried in sand. Beneath its surface, too, secrets slumber, whispers of ancient Sith observatories hidden in the desert's heart, places where shadows lingered long before scavengers came. Reminders that Jakku is more than barren dust, that even forgotten worlds can hold echoes of destiny. To dream of Jakku is to picture yourself climbing the ribs of a fallen star destroyer at dawn, the sky painted in soft pink and gold, the air still cool, the desert silent, except for the wind shifting through broken metal. And then, as the sun rises higher, the sands glowing with heat, life pulling itself together in small oases, in hardy plants, in creatures scuttling through shade, in people who endure because they must. Jakku whispers of survival, of endurance against emptiness, of how even in forgotten corners of the galaxy, great destinies can be born. And it endures in memory not only as Rey's beginning, but as a reminder that every world, no matter how barren, carries stories worth remembering, stories that shape the stars themselves. Jakku, when its sands are sifted more carefully, reveals a world shaped as much by the lives of those who endure upon it as by the wreckage that fell from the sky. For its people are scavengers, traders, and wanderers who rise with the first light to trek across dunes toward ship graveyards, their eyes squinting against the glare as they pick apart the bones of fallen cruisers and walkers, dragging pieces back to outposts like Nima, where merchants weigh every scrap, every gear, every circuit, giving just enough food or water in return to keep the cycle alive. Survival here is not about thriving, but enduring, finding meaning in the smallest victories, a full belly, a working speeder, a quiet night safe from raiders. Jakku's culture is one of patience carved into hardship. Children grow up climbing the ribs of broken star destroyers, their games played among rusting cannons and shattered durasteel, and elders tell stories of the great battle that littered the sands, when the Empire's remnants and the New Republic clashed in thunderous fire, fleets burning in the skies, walkers thundering across dunes, stormtroopers and soldiers spilling into the desert, in a last, desperate struggle that left the planet scarred forever. The Battle of Jakku was the Empire's death rattle. And though the New Republic emerged victorious, the cost was a graveyard of metal that still dominates the landscape, Titanic ships buried nose first in sand like monuments to hubris. For those who live here now, these wrecks are not reminders of history, but resources. Their shadows sheltering markets, and their innards providing parts for food, fuel, and shelter, the bones of war turned into lifelines. Yet beneath Jakku's sands lie secrets even older and darker than battles, for hidden Sith observatories, cloaked from the galaxy, once pulsed with quiet power here, suggesting that Jakku was chosen for reasons beyond emptiness, its silence a veil that hid shadows waiting to awaken. Rey's story began here, her life defined by loneliness and endurance, waiting for parents who never returned, her days marked by scavenging and her nights by starlight. And through her, Jakku's barrenness became a crucible for strength, a reminder that greatness can emerge even from forgotten places. To dream of Jakku now is to stand in the shadow of a fallen star destroyer at dusk, the sky painted in shades of orange and purple, the desert cooling under evening winds, the stars beginning to glimmer sharp and close, and to feel both the weight of history and the quiet of solitude pressing together, shaping a world that is harsh but strangely peaceful. Jakku whispers of resilience, of survival against emptiness, of how the smallest flicker of endurance can shape destinies. And though it is barren, forgotten, and harsh, it remains in memory as a world where silence held secrets, where wreckage became life, and where a scavenger's strength became the galaxy's hope. Mandalore, the world of warriors and legends, is a planet whose very soil carries the echoes of battle. A land once rich with fields and forests, but long scarred by centuries of war, its skies often dim with dust, its surface pocked with ruins of cities that once gleamed with Beskar and firelight, its culture bound to strength, honor, and resilience. To imagine Mandalore is to see domed cities rising like silver lanterns against barren plains, their curves smooth and protective, keeping life within safe from the storms outside, while beneath those domes, warriors in shining Beskar armor walk with pride, their visors glinting in the light, each step carrying the weight of their creed. For to be Mandalorian is not merely to fight, but to live by a code, to honor family and clan, to protect heritage even when the galaxy misunderstands. The people of Mandalore have always been defined by their bond to Beskar, the sacred metal that falls from their world and is reforged into armor that becomes part of the soul, passed down through generations, each piece carrying stories of victories, scars of survival, and the unspoken promise that Mandalore endures no matter the storm. Yet Mandalore's history is also one of deep contrast. For while its warriors carved a reputation across the stars as fearsome conquerors, their world at times sought peace, with leaders like Duchess Satine Kryze striving to turn Mandalore from a battlefield into a sanctuary, her domed capital of Sundari gleaming white against the desert, a vision of hope fragile as glass, standing in opposition to the darker paths of her ancestors. Conflict, however, always found Mandalore. Civil wars between clans, battles with the Jedi, the rise of the Darksaber as both weapon and symbol, carried by those who would claim the right to rule, its black blade humming with history, each swing a reminder that Mandalore is a world where leadership is not given, but won. Through the Clone Wars, Mandalore became a crucible, its cities torn between pacifists, warriors, and the shadow of Darth Maul, who once seized its throne, turning its capital into a palace of fear. Yet even then, the spirit of the Mandalorians endured, their clans fractured but unbroken, their culture flowing on like rivers beneath stone. When the Empire came, Mandalore resisted, its people refusing to bow, and for that defiance they suffered the Purge. Its cities bombarded, its people scattered, its soil burned. Yet still the Mandalorians survived in exile, carrying their creed as if it were fire in the night, scattered embers that refused to die. To dream of Mandalore is to picture endless plains beneath red skies, shattered cities half buried in dust, warriors in shining Beskar standing tall amid ruin, their silhouettes unbroken, their voices low but steady as they whisper their creed. This is the way. And though Mandalore lies scarred, its domes cracked and its people scattered, it remains alive in myth, in memory, in the hearts of every clan member who still forges armor, who still raises children to honor their creed, who still believes that one day the world of warriors will rise again. To rest with Mandalore in your thoughts is to hear the faint hum of the darksaber in the distance, to feel the weight of Beskar against your chest, to see in the mind's eye a world battered but unyielding, and to know that Mandalore, more than a planet, is a promise, eternal as stars, carried not only in soil but in the people who live by it. Mandalore, when seen beyond its battlefields, reveals a culture layered with tradition, pride, and myth. For though outsiders know its people as warriors clad in Beskar, their lives are woven through with ritual, honor, and song. Each clan carrying histories passed from parent to child like stories carved into armor, every dent and sigil telling of both triumph and sacrifice. Their feasts, held beneath the glow of firelight, echo with chants of loyalty. Their forges blaze not only with sparks of Beskar, but with the breath of memory, each strike of the hammer ringing with reverence. For to forge armor is to forge identity, and the act itself is sacred. At the heart of Mandalorian legend lies the darksaber, a blade unlike any other, its black plasma humming with intensity, its edge glowing pale white as though carved from shadow itself, and its story threads through every age of Mandalore. First wielded by Tar Vizsla, the Jedi who was Mandalorian, its possession marking the right to rule, its loss sparking wars, its return igniting unity or division, always shaping destiny. To see the darksaber is to see Mandalore's soul made into light, a symbol of both burden and hope, as heavy to carry as the armor on their shoulders. When the purge fell upon Mandalore and the Empire's wrath turned domes to ash, survivors carried their creed into exile, spreading across the galaxy like scattered embers, each hidden covert a flicker of what once was, children raised to never remove their helmets, to live by the way, to endure as shadows until the day their world could rise again. Yet exile did not erase identity, for wherever Mandalorians traveled, their culture traveled too. Their forges rebuilt in secret, their songs sung in low voices, their loyalty to one another unshaken even when worlds turned against them. Their creed passed down in whispers like a prayer. To dream of Mandalore now is to picture domed cities glowing faintly in memory, the clang of hammers echoing in hidden caverns, the darksaber cutting through darkness as a beacon of destiny, and warriors standing together, scattered but unbroken, their visors reflecting starlight, as they vow in silence that their world will not be forgotten. Mandalore whispers of endurance through ruin, of identity that cannot be shattered even when its soil is scarred, of fire that survives in exile, waiting, patient, and of a promise eternal as stars. That one day the warriors will return, the domes will rise, and the way will endure. Mandalore, in the quiet of memory, feels less like a scarred planet and more like a legend carved into the galaxy itself, for though its surface lies battered by war, glassed by flame, and fractured by betrayal, its name still carries the weight of warriors who never surrendered their creed, a people whose armor is their history and whose unity, though tested, always endures. To walk its plains after the purge is to see ruins that whisper of cities once alive with the firelight, domes cracked and broken, but still standing stubbornly against the wind, as if even stone refuses to forget. And to hear the wind whistle through empty halls is to feel that the planet itself waits, patient, for its children to return. Mandalorians in exile still carry pieces of their world within them. Beskar forged into armor passed down through generations, chants and oaths repeated like lullabies in the dark. The way taught to younglings raised beneath alien skies, each ember of tradition keeping alive a fire no bombardment could snuff out. And so Mandalore exists now not only as a place of stone and dust, but as a dream carried in the hearts of its people, a dream of reunion, of forging again, not just armor, but destiny. The darksaber, glowing black with pale white edges, continues to move between hands, a symbol that unites or divides depending on who carries it, yet always reminding the galaxy that Mandalore is not dead, only waiting, its story paused but never ended. To dream of Mandalore in sleep is to see warriors gathered around a forge deep underground, sparks leaping into darkness as hammers strike Beskar with steady rhythm, their voices low but steady as they whisper their creed. This is the way. The words echoing not only in caverns but across stars, a vow that binds them wherever they wander. In the distance, domes rise again in imagination, their silver curves glowing beneath red skies, children running across bridges that connect families and clans, the air filled with the deep hum of song and the scent of fire and food, the planet alive once more in memory, even if still scarred in reality. Mandalore whispers that strength is not in conquest, but in endurance. Not in power, but in honor, not in soil, but in spirit. And it reminds us that some worlds live longer in memory than in stone, carried by those who refuse to let them fade. To rest with Mandalore in your thoughts is to feel its resilience within yourself, to hear the hum of the forge as though it were a heartbeat, to see the stars above glowing steady and eternal. And to know that though Mandalore's surface is wounded, its spirit remains unbroken, waiting, enduring, promising that one day the warriors will rise again, and the world of legends will breathe once more. Yavin 4, the lush jungle moon that circles the gas giant Yavin, is a world of green and stone, where towering trees stretch toward skies heavy with mist, where rivers wind endlessly beneath canopies, alive with the cries of birds and the hum of insects, and where the ruins of ancient temples rise from the earth like sleeping giants, their moss-covered stones whispering of civilizations long gone. To walk its paths is to feel both the vitality of nature and the gravity of history, for beneath every root and vine lies memory, carved into walls by hands that have long since turned to dust, yet still standing as monuments to time. It was on Yavin 4 that the Massassi people once dwelled, their culture tied deeply to the stone temples they built, structures so vast and enduring that even millennia later they stood firm, their steps echoing beneath the boots of rebels who transformed them into Echo Base during the Galactic Civil War. The Rebel Alliance chose Yavin 4 not for comfort, but for secrecy, hiding beneath its green canopy, their starfighters launching from runways cut into clearings, their briefings held in vast halls that once served as sanctuaries for forgotten gods, their hopes pinned on fragile wings against the might of the Empire. It was here, within the Great Temple, that plans for the Death Star were studied, that pilots were briefed before they rose into the night sky, and that celebration erupted when the superweapon was destroyed. The temple halls glowing with firelight, laughter, and the echoes of triumph carried through stone corridors that had seen countless ages before. Yet Yavin 4 is not remembered only for rebellion. It is remembered for its dreamlike presence, for the way its jungles feel alive, filled with creatures that rustle unseen in the underbrush, with vines that dangle like curtains, with mists that rise in early morning and wrap the temples in a veil of mystery, making the moon seem more spirit than stone. To dream of Yavin 4 is to imagine standing on the steps of a temple at dawn, the jungle alive with calls of strange birds, the air damp with dew, the sun rising slowly over the gas giant Yavin, its massive presence filling half the sky with red and orange glow, and to feel at once small and infinite, part of a galaxy that stretches endlessly, but grounded in the earth beneath your feet. Yavin 4 whispers of resilience and renewal, of civilizations that rise and fall, yet leave behind traces for the next to find, of how even ruins can shelter hope, and of how even in the quiet of jungles, destiny can take root. Its rivers still run, its temples still stand, and its forests still hum with life, a lullaby of endurance and mystery, reminding the galaxy that every victory, every dream needs a place to begin. And sometimes that place is not a palace or a throne, but a forgotten moon where stone and vine embrace beneath an endless sky. Yavin 4, when its jungles are walked more slowly, reveals a depth beyond rebellion and victory, for its roots stretch back into forgotten ages, when the Massassi, a race bound to the Force and scarred by the influence of the ancient Sith, carved the great temples that still stand, their stone blocks massive and enduring, their walls once echoing with chants to dark masters who sought to bend the galaxy to their will. Yet time, as it always does, shifted power, the Massassi fading into myth, their temples overgrown with vines, their dark rituals buried beneath moss and earth, until silence returned and only the jungle sang again. When the Rebel Alliance came, they did not know, or perhaps did not care about the echoes lingering in stone. They saw only shelter, strength in ruins, and a chance to carve hope from forgotten halls, turning temples of darkness into a fortress of light, their starfighters taking flight above forests that had once known only solitude. But Yavin 4 carries more than history. It carries a presence, a subtle hum in its soil and air, as though the Force itself clings to its roots, whispering to those who linger that here at the edges of civilization, one can still touch mystery unshaped by empires. For Jedi who later returned, the moon was a place of learning, its temples reimagined as academies, its forests echoing with the laughter of students, its ruins repurposed for meditation and training, as if the stones themselves desired redemption after centuries of silence. And yet Yavin 4 never truly lost its duality, for shadows lingered as much as light, its history heavy with both Sith corruption and rebel triumph, making it a nexus of memory where the past could never be erased, only lived with, woven into each dawn when mist rose from the trees and wrapped the temples like a shroud. To dream of Yavin 4 now is to imagine wandering its forest paths in twilight, fireflies glowing faintly against the dark, the sound of distant waterfalls blending with the chorus of unseen creatures, the great temple rising in silhouette against the gas giant Yavin, glowing red above, its presence filling the sky so fully that it feels like a second sun, eternal and watchful. In those dreams, the temple's stones seem to breathe, the jungle hums with energy, and the stars above twinkle in approval, as though the galaxy itself knows that Yavin 4 is not just a moon, but a story, one of loss, survival, and rebirth. Yavin whispers that every ruin has meaning, that every silence holds memory, and that even in forgotten jungles, destiny can awaken. And so it endures in the galaxy's song, not as a ruin, not as a battlefield, but as a place where hope once rose from the shadows and touched the stars. The galaxy, when all stories are told and all journeys paused, drifts into a kind of quiet, a slumber spread across stars as if the cosmos itself exhales after so many battles, triumphs, and tragedies. Worlds spin softly in their orbits, suns burn with steady patience, and in the silence between, life continues in its simplest forms. Waves rising and falling, winds whispering through forests, snow glittering beneath moonlight, deserts cooling under starlit skies, each planet carrying on as if singing its own lullaby to the night. Tatooine's sands grow still once the heat of day fades, cradling memories of wanderers and suns setting in twin fire. Coruscant's towers, once alive with endless traffic, dim into the glow of lanterns in the hush of night air drifting between durasteel spires. Dagobah's swamps breathe with mist, the croak of creatures and the ripple of waters turning into a steady chorus that lulls the forest back into balance. Hoth freezes again, its wind smoothing over footprints, its stars glinting clear and sharp, as if the battle that shook its fields never was. On Endor, fires burn low in treetop villages, Ewoks' laughter drifting into sleep beneath the canopy, while Kashyyyk's towering rusher trees sway in evening breezes, their roots steady as the voices of Wookiees hum low songs of kinship. Alderaan, though gone, gleams still in memory, a lullaby of peace carried in every act of kindness across the galaxy. Bespin drifts quietly above its golden clouds, its towers shining like lanterns suspended in dream. Ahch-To's waves crash eternal, carrying the wisdom of beginnings and endings into the silence of dawn. Exegol's storms rage in secret, but fade into a muted hum beneath the stars, its shadows part of the balance that lingers forever. Jakku's deserts breathe, its wreckage glowing faintly in starlight, each fallen ship now silent, resting as monuments to endurance. Mandalore's scarred plains stand beneath red skies, domes cracked yet unbroken, its spirit alive in every whispered creed carried into exile. Yavin 4's jungles wrap their temples in vines and mist once more, stone and vine embracing in timeless stillness, the gas giant glowing above like an eternal ember. And so the galaxy sleeps, each world alive, each world dreaming, each one carrying its own story into the vastness of night. To listen to this quiet is to hear the heartbeat of the Force itself, binding star to star, world to world, person to person, carrying forward every triumph, every loss, every hope, and every dream. In this stillness, nothing is truly gone, for memory endures, light flickers even in shadow, and the galaxy, though vast and unending, feels as gentle and close as a cradle. And as the stars scatter their light across infinity, the galaxy whispers its last lullaby. Rest, breathe, and dream. For tomorrow the stories will rise again, but tonight the galaxy sleeps.